Well, first of all, thank you for joining us here. We mostly talk to South Africans that already moved abroad, but this interview is not about me. Please take as long as you need and introduce yourself to the Ursia audience.
Cool. So I'll start off. I'm Sean Kupferberg. I've been with New World Immigration and Recruitment for just shy of 12 years. I started off in immigration, really just focusing on getting families their visas and so on and so forth. But that didn't really, how do I say, tickle my fancy too much. Like you get involved in that for quite a long time, and you realize this isn't doing it for me anymore. So I then I then went over to finding businesses in Australia. I started off with plumbers and then electrical companies, and we then went into recruitment. And that is where I really enjoy the space of immigration, because it's immigration meeting a family with job opportunity, and it just yeah, it was just so much more beneficial. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
My name's Robbie. I'm the founder of New World Immigration. Sean and I actually started working like in the early days, hey? Like
Yeah,
within the first couple of months. So
yeah.
he's technically a founder as well.
Oh,
So we'll give him some credit.
Yeah.
But Sean's done an incredible job with the business as well. We wouldn't be in this position without him. So yeah, big up. So yeah, name's Robbie. Have worked in the industry for about 15 years. Started New World Immigration just because there was a void of companies with integrity and focused on customer centric like attitude and the way that they were dealing with clientele. I'd worked for two or three prior to starting this company. They were a bit sketchy. Let's put it that way. So the next best thing was to create a company that focused on those values, and we're here 12, 13 years later, and pretty much leaders in the industry in South Africa. So yeah.
wow. Well, if you've been doing it for 12 or 13 years, you're definitely doing something right. Now, before we get into the details of what job is hot right now, I need to say that, look, at the end of the day, you're running a business. Because ever since I launched the portal, quite often you'll get the odd person saying, "But why do I need to pay for this?" Because it takes money to create the portal. I'm a developer, and I would have charged between 15 to $20,000 for just a site, and then I'm still busy developing the app, and that's going to be another $10,000. So it's not a free system, and the same goes for the services that you guys provide. There's wages that needs to be paid. There is camera equipment that needs to be bought. So I just want to put it out there that yes, it's a service because someone needs to do it. Because at the end of the day, you are the missing link between where the job is needed and who is the person that's going to be doing the job. And the fact that they are
Yeah.
looking to recruit South Africans is just speaks for itself. I always say to the people that I work with, because this is not my day job, I will starve. That we immigrated to work. That is our number one core reason why we are overseas, is to do work and to earn money. And I laughed the other day because I was interviewing Breitenbachs who do the recruitment for into the UK. They actually
Yeah.
well, not recruiting, it's immigration advice, and they actually helped me and my wife with our visas when we moved to the UK many years ago.
Okay. We actually
And
had an expo with him some time back.
Yeah, they're a good company.
yeah, yeah, no, no, you'll see your video is it's him, and then it's like two other stuff, and it's you. So yeah, so
As long as we're above, it's fine.
yeah, no, you're the latest. Yeah, so I must say, if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for Breitenbach, I think JP was the guy who helped us. It would not have been. I mean, my head would have break under the pressure of all the paperwork that needed to be filled out. I mean, that
Mm.
alone is worth its weight in gold. When we applied for permanent residence in Australia, okay, well, first of all, when we applied for to go from the UK over to Australia, we hired a company called Australia, Here We Come. It's AEAAHW or something like that. And again, we would have drowned under the weight of all the paperwork. So when the time came for us to actually apply for permanent residence, this is because we came over on a 482, we
Yeah.
ran straight to them. It says, here's the money, help us get it done. And
Mm.
yeah, we
But
got
that's the thing. It's the secure. What we offer is the security of knowing that you stand the best chance of approval based on what we've learned about applications in the past,
Hmm.
all the historic cases that we've done, all the approvals that we have. So you're not really, you could probably do it yourself. Many people do, but some people can't risk delays. Some
Yeah.
people need to start jobs on certain dates.
Mm.
Some people need to attend certain events at
Yeah.
certain times.
Can't risk those government fees.
Yeah, so they're just buying into the security of knowing that their visa will be approved and in an allotted time where they can plan accordingly. And I suppose that's the value that we're kind
Yeah.
of providing.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at the let's unpack that a little bit. So one of my biggest fears was that we're going to pay the money, we're going to submit the application, and we're not going to be good enough, and we're going to lose that investment. What do you offer your clients prior to actually starting that whole journey? Do you offer like a consultation? Say, okay, first I'll come in for a consultation. That's how I would have done it. So I don't know how you guys operate. It's going to cost you a small amount, but we're going to assess you and we're going to tell you what is possible and what's not. Tell me how you guys operate.
So for starters, what we'll do is that so we've got a team of consultants at New World where your inquiry hits one of the consultants' desks and they'll go through a pre-screening prior to phoning you. So if you're looking at moving to Australia on a permanent basis, which is where most families are at, or what most families want to do, um, we'd look at the qualifying criteria. So age, qualifications, years of work experience, English proficiency. We'll obviously try and establish as much as we can over a phone call, having 20, 25 minutes with them. And then we'll go through a pre-screening of whether or not they would meet the visa requirements before we even quote or invoice the family, right? So before family ends up spending a dime on this process, we go through the qualifying criteria of what they'd look at the end of the process before we start stage one.
Mm-hmm.
So we essentially work our way backward. So starting from the end of the process, what Australia is going to be looking for, and then work our way backward. We'd look and discuss things like, is there criminal record, or is there a serious illness or chronic illness in the family, those type of things. So we want to try and establish the risk involved here and limit that risk as much as we possibly can before family spends hard-earned money. I mean, Robbie and I are both parents. Most of the people we employ at New World Immigration are parents, and when you're speaking to a family that's immigrating, most of them are parents. You know what it's like in South Africa. You know that it's being a parent, it's not cheap. And every dime you earn, for the hours spent working, you want to make sure that it's going to go somewhere where you're going to get return on investment.
And also, like we are aware of so many entities out there that don't operate like that, and that will take clients' fees up front without doing proper assessments. So we're almost like a safe haven for people that are unsure about whether they qualify, but they don't want to spend money up front. Welcome them in. They tell us their story. If they qualify, we then provide a quotation to start work on there. But only once we are fully convinced that we can achieve a positive outcome for them.
Yeah,
I think that's what
there's a high probability of success.
Mhm.
I mean, as you know, Stephen, you've gone through the immigration yourself, and there are two things. Family want to understand the guarantees behind it, and unfortunately, you can't guarantee it. It's like It's like, I don't know, writing an exam in university and your university lecturer guaranteeing whether or not you're going to pass the exam. It's just you can't. It goes into the preparation of that exam. It goes into the preparation of the application and the decision at the end of the day by the Australian government. So there are things that are completely out of our hands and out of our control, but at least for the most part, being in this industry for as long as we have, as Robbie said, based on thousands and thousands of applications that we've submitted over time, you get to a point of, okay, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of things to unpack there. Now, let's start for you guys as a business. Now, you sign up on which not a Wish, apologies, I'm wearing the Wish hat, but on Hop to Oz as a
Yes.
recruiter because that is the
Yeah.
foundation or the base of our whole portal. But you also offer all the other services that goes around it. In your experience, what is the sequence of deliverance in terms of where do if I'm now South African, I'm over there, I've got a skill, I've got a
Mhm.
degree, I've got
Mhm.
small family, I am early mid 30s. Where do I start? Do I first go onto the immigration or the Australia side and do the point-based system? Do I first come to see you guys? Where do I start to give me that first step of confidence to actually run the whole marathon?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. And I think for your viewers to understand, because that's a frequently asked question on your platform, on our platform, most Facebook forums, where do we start this journey? The most important thing is that get access to a registered agent or agency that can facilitate a process like this. And we have a registered Mara agent at New World Immigration. So you make contact with someone that's registered, and you run through the various scenarios of getting into Australia. Because put it this way, the skilled program, which works in a points ranking system, which you are familiar with, that might not be the only program that you can rely on to get into Australia.
Mm.
Because we are recruiters as well, we've partnered with businesses that would want candidates to come across a lot faster than waiting for, let's say, a year or even 2 years for your skilled visa. So, to cut a long story short, I want to try and understand the various pathways that a family has available to them, different outcomes, and really understanding the entire playing field that a family has in front of them. From there, we can establish, okay, great. Based on your industry, based on your background, we have businesses on our books that are looking for candidates of your caliber. There's a pathway that we can look at getting you into Oz on a work permit, but we'll continue running permanent residency in the background. Before we start this process, we want to ensure that permanent residency is on the table for them.
Hmm.
Not many families are willing to go to Australia for 4, 5, 6 years. I personally wouldn't want to do it, and then end up knowing, hold on, I can't actually get permanent residency here. I need to head back home or wherever I come from.
Mm.
So
It's almost like a path to citizenship.
mm,
You want to get the passport at some point. You want to
yeah,
know how to get there, and then like the role that we play is mapping that out based on your profile and all the eventualities that could take place. You might have immigration rules that change midway. You want to have a backup plan in the event of that happening. So it's all about mapping out like all the possible routes for the client.
I've heard so many sad stories. I've interviewed a lady a few years ago, Robin Vogel. Well, you might be familiar with her. She wrote a book about Australian immigration, actually, and she said about families that came to her. The guy was recruited by the company. He was made redundant 6 months in his contract. He's got his family with him. What does he do now? I would like to answer on that question from your point of view. I have to say though, I do admire the way you roll. I do admire how you approach the whole thing, and you do encourage them, the people to still speak to the recruiter as well, because you got those quick links into the businesses, into the jobs that's offering these positions, and with it the sponsored visas as well. Would you say you need to have a full university degree to consider, or because I know a lot of Australian businesses count work experience as qualification as well. I bumped into a guy not too long ago, and he didn't have a degree in ICT technology, but because he did an apprenticeship and he had a 5 year experience, they counted that as
Mm.
like a master's degree or something. And
Yeah.
based on that, he got sponsored. Is that something that you see regularly in your line of work?
That's a good question, Stephen, and I think that's based on industry standards. So there are two things to that: industry standards and what the employer is going to be looking for. And I suppose the third thing is immigration requirements, right? Because for an example, you can get a skills assessment as an electrician without actually having your red seal. You can do that. You can get your skills assessment because essentially the government will require you as an electrician. Now, I'm just using this as an example, right? You can you as an electrician can get a successful skills assessment outcome without a red seal, but by having 6 years plus work experience in the industry, and then still get into Australia in a 482 and still apply for skilled migration or a skilled visa once you're there, right? You don't necessarily need to have the red seal. Um, but that being said, I also place a lot of candidates in Queensland for construction roles, and they don't mess around. You need to have a bachelor's degree in construction project management, a degree in civil engineering. You know, they're very specific as far as qualification framework is concerned. And it also boils down to health and safety regulations. You know, you can't just employ someone willy-nilly with, let's say, 8 years work experience. He claims to be a construction project manager, but not having, the required academic background. That can be a touch and go situation. When it comes to IT, I've seen over my career, I've seen many IT professionals that have gotten into Australia, but not having a bachelor's degree in ICT because the industry is so, how do I say,
It's like homegrown.
a-
Like you start off as a
yeah.
as a lighty on your computer, and you spend 15 years doing it, and now
You study something for 4 years,
you're a
and
guru.
then 3 weeks down the line, something's completely different. It's
Yeah,
pain,
yeah, it changes regularly. Yeah.
and
It's very,
it's
very,
coming
it's
from a
very diverse.
non-IT background.
Yeah, no,
It is.
I've been in the IT business for 19 or 20 years now. It's and I mean I've changed hats so many times where I started off with just basic support and then web development, and then I'm jumping back to support and then networking. In the UK, I was an ICT network manager. I had the highest role you could possibly have in a educational department. When I came here, I was considered underexperienced and underqualified to have that role. So I walked in as a senior tech and a coordinator, which is just a fancy way of saying you're not a manager. And I did that role for 7 years before I now have another opportunity to be an administrator, which is the just below the manager's position. And I have to say I'm grateful for that because when I was in the UK, I thought I knew what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. I came to Australia and I saw a whole different level of quality in my line of work, where we are a team of 9 people. Back when I was in the UK, we were 3 guys doing all that work. And because you can't really get to everything, there's holes. I mean, it's you don't really realize it because everyone thinks you're amazing, you're fixing their stuff. But what I saw in Australia is they don't just fix something, they fix it permanently. They think long term. They plan 5 years ahead. And that's one thing I just love about this country. And that's why I encourage people before you look anywhere else, before you go join an USA refugee program, or before you do anything, speak to a professional because you might just be lucky enough to get into the best country in the world, which is this one. Now, I can already see from a mile away, you guys, it's quality work that you do. Now, I'm going to be a little bit selfish, and I'm going to bring Hop to Oz into the conversation. So it's fairly new. When I start writing code, I go mental. My wife can't even speak to me because not a word goes through. And I have to say, I built it in record time. How can I improve on the registration system to encourage the right people to register? Because the last thing I want is someone that really he's better off investing his energy and his $9 into his living in South Africa instead of signing up with us. How can I shape the registration form so that it almost not a point-based system, but it almost vets you as you register. So before checkout, it makes the client think twice. Well, should I press this button and spend the money and hopefully I'll get a
Mm.
job? Or no, it's not for me. I need to probably go back to the books, study a bit more, get more work experience. What do you reckon?
Mm. I think
Chat GPT
I think
integration.
I think look, it's never going to be a short answer, Stephen. But I think when people are parting ways with their hard-earned money, as you have yourself, with a platform that you look, you're not spending, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 rand a month on having access to that information. You're spending a lot less as a South African, but it's money that parts you at the end of the day anyway. But I think the biggest thing is the trustworthy of the platform. And if you've got a section of a testimonials page where people have access to a trustworthy testimonials section before parting ways with their subscription payment, whether it's $9 or $20 or whatever the case might be, it may increase the confidence in them parting ways with that money. They've got access to testimonials, they've got videos, they've got pictures of families that have gone across. And we do that as well. I mean, we've got video testimonials where we've actually sent, well, Robbie will actually tell you the story of both Canada and Australia. We've sent teams to these countries. We've sat families down in their living rooms and we've had interviews with them and we've made videos for them
That was a
with them.
bloody expensive exercise there. And so like yeah, besides with what Sean was saying, which is 100% true, it's always great to have that. I think like because you're dealing in a legal space, it's immigration space, right? You have a sort of a duty to always act ethically and all that. So, and I know that you guys are 100% in belief of the same thing, which is great. The integrity is first, right? Um, and then to engage with people and then to charge people based on their ability to at some point, hopefully, get their desired objective, which is finding work. Like no one would feel comfortable bringing on a janitor, for example. No disrespect to any janitors that are watching, but Australia's not looking for janitors right now.
Yeah, I'm a janitor.
And to charge someone a subscription fee every month because there may be a janitor job
Mm,
coming up.
mm,
So there's a responsibility that you guys have to make sure that at the end of the day, if a job offer does come up for their occupation that they're in, that there is a possibility of them getting that. But you're not sitting in the interview room. So you mustn't accept that responsibility in playing Cupid and getting people jobs. You must have a platform that enables people to get into interview rooms and then they must do the rest. They must impress their employers. At the end of the day, they have to impress the employer enough to actually be offered a job.
yeah. Because that's often a question I get asked by candidates,
Can you guarantee me a job?
Sean, can you guarantee me a job? And the reality is that I'm not the one employing you. I'm not.
True.
It's my client that is either a principal or a dealership principal that's employing an automotive technician or a business owner at the end of the day. I'm not the one that's offering you the position, so as long as you've got the right paperwork in place, which is what our immigration team is going to help you with, and we can prepare you as best as we possibly can as recruiters. But at whatever happens in that interview is going to be the real decision maker.
Yeah, I have to put it out there because yeah, you're 100% right. At the end of the day, it is how well do you perform. If you think you got
Yeah.
what it takes, sign up. The purpose of Hop to Oz as a website and soon to be an app is just to put you in contact with the recruiter because there are
Mhm.
a lot of you and you cater for different sorts of people, different sorts of needs, and as the founder of Oshia, I was inundated with requests, and the couple that then approached me and says, "Well, how about it? Can we make this happen?" They are getting inundated with requests now. So they since added me as an admin on their Facebook group. I think there's about 100 messages that comes in per day, every day, every single day on their Facebook saying, "Can you help me with this job? How can I get this job?" I'm just going to say it directly as it is. We can't, and they can't. They're definitely not qualified. I'm not qualified, but we've given you the platform that puts you in contact with those who are qualified, and they're sitting right here in
You
front.
might you might have one of those people that signs up to your platform that's not like going to really realistically secure a job in Australia because their credentials are not up to par. But they might have a friend or a parent or a sibling that would qualify. So maybe it's not really your responsibility to vet everyone that signs up to your platform. People might just want to do it for interest's sake. People might want to do it to have access to jobs that they can then sort of resell to their audience base and somehow do something with that. But like, yeah, I suppose to
I
answer
think,
your first question, like in terms of like what you can put on the form to vet people, maybe not much. Maybe
I
allow
think
everyone to come in.
we've done. So I've put in qualification bits. Do you have a visa? Do you not? Do you require one? So, and
Mm.
I've gone for an effort because I don't personally, sorry, I'm choking on my coffee. Personally, I don't like long registration forms. And at the end of the day,
No.
we are trying to set up a bit of a business. It is supposed to start paying for itself because currently I am broke and only two out of my three kids can eat dinner. So it needs to get
Yeah,
going.
same with us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We know all about it.
So yeah, I've kept the registration form right, but thank you. I'm gonna feel better, and I'm gonna still do our very best to help as much people as we can. Now, we are.
Stephen, I mean, I mean, and Robbie can speak about this. You know, I mean, we constantly having to change and adapt depending on how people perceive immigration. Because what you used to do 5 years ago, it doesn't work anymore now. It just doesn't, and that's, I guess, how many businesses and industries operate. You know, pretty much the same as IT. But I mean, we've got paid for adverts on Facebook and various other platforms.
Yeah,
And
you could have adverts that say like immigrate to Australia today or start the process now, immigration. You'll get like one or two inquiries a day. Then you change the wording to job opportunities available in Australia because there are thousands of jobs available in Australia.
Yes.
Anyone that qualifies can get a job as soon as they arrive. And then you have 1,000 inquiries a day. So people's, as Sean was saying, it's like what people's perception is of what means the most to them. When you know you're a, say for example, the man of the house, and you are in charge of this moving abroad, and you really have to take responsibility. You're not thinking about like immigration and kangaroos and beaches, and you're thinking about how the hell am I going to financially make this work?
Yep.
And that relates directly to the job that you'll end up getting, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, sure, sure,
I have
sure.
to. I have
And
to.
just, yeah,
I have to
no, no.
agree. I mean, I came in Australia 7 years ago now, and fresh off the boat, and work was thrown at me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I got two or three offers in the first couple of weeks, and I ended up picking an offer with a Christian school, which I was very, very happy for because it was such a great community to fall into. Um, uh,
Mm.
I always joke with them. I says, "You got to be nice. You're Christian." Where
And a school, like
yeah,
your
my wife worked in the public sector, and her work is her whole industry is much more cutthroat, and yeah, there's lots of words flying around the office a lot of the time, but there is a lot of work available in Australia, and if you think you cannot get a work in the city or around the coast somewhere, just go a little bit more inward, go a little bit more rural. The government pays huge bonuses for people that goes and work rural. There's places that is absolutely beautiful, like Broome and those places up north in WA. No one wants to work there because it's always hot. But if you go there and you maybe, for instance, land a government job, they pay up to $40,000 a year bonus just because you are working there. So there is
That's good.
wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful opportunities if you just look. I interrupted you.
yeah.
You wanted to say
No,
something?
no, just to end off on that subject of you know, your is it your landing page or is it the form? So
Form.
like as an example, if you go into our form, we try and keep it as short as possible and brief to not have a family spend 20 minutes, because you get drop off. Well, I think is that the right term?
Correct.
Drop
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Now you've obviously, if you got paid for advertising, you spend for that click, that person's on, and then they drop off, and you haven't actually gotten that person. You can't get in touch with them because you don't have the information.
True.
So try and keep it as short as possible, and yeah, I think the quicker they are able to get onto your platform, the quicker your team is able to access that person's information and give them the best information they need to understand, where they stand, is ideal. Again, unfortunately, there are a lot of competitors in our industry that go through so much paperwork right in the beginning. And I understand that there's an ethical side of it. But you also want to get to a point as a business owner. Let's get straight to the point. Let's cut to the chase and understand where this family stands. Let me not spend the next, day for this family waiting, where I could literally just give you an answer whether or not this is actually going to go somewhere or not within the next, 5 to 10 minutes. You don't actually need to spend a day on someone's application to establish whether or not they qualify. It's actually pretty straightforward.
100%.
Stephen, you were speaking, sorry to interrupt, you were speaking about rural Australia earlier, and it's such a hot topic in the office because the government, as you said, are doing all they can to get people out into rural areas. And for anyone that's listening now, if you are exploring immigration to Australia and you are being suggested a rural option compared to a metro option like a city, do not have a preconceived idea that you're going to be living in the desert or in like a ranch with the kangaroos and please, like there are rural areas that look more developed than where you are living right now.
100%.
It's like suburbia. It's like houses everywhere, schools, parks. Like they just call it rural or regional. We call it regional, rural,
Yeah.
regional
McDonald's.
Australia. You'll be blown away by what you will see is regional Australia versus what your mind thinks it is.
We've got good friends who live rural, and rural is it looks like a city when you get there. It's not. It's just yeah. There is like rural like I don't even know. It doesn't even have a word where there's like nothing. And I've watched a couple of documentaries. I've watched a couple of documentaries where the Aussies would go in with their cameras into these towns and they would go speak to the Aboriginal people there. And then there'll be like this one white dude standing in between the cattle. And the moment they give him the mic, he's got the thickest Afrikaans accent I've ever heard. And I'm like, there's one. I know there's one. It's probably sent there by New World Immigration. Now, we, we're 36 minutes into this interview. Out of experience, I know that half of the people have already stopped listening unless they're really interested in immigration. Now, before we end off, I want to know what's hot right now. What jobs are selling? What is it the Aussies want? Besides teachers. Everyone wants teachers the whole time.
Yeah, so I was just about to touch on that, but you've got we've got a number of businesses that are looking for construction professionals.
Trades.
What's nice about the construction industry, unlike education, where it's just teachers, the construction sector, you've got white collar and blue collar professionals. So your market increases dramatically when you look at as a construction professional. There's some companies that we do business with in South Australia, and they are construction businesses, but they employ construction project managers, architects, plumbers, quantity surveyors, construction electricians,
Carpenters.
electrical engineers, carpenters, bricklayers. So if you're in the construction sector, and
Yeah, you
Stephen,
can't miss.
you being in Australia, the amount of development that's taking place in your larger cities and in your rural areas, it's just it's continuously happening. So you're in the construction sector, yeah, you're in a really good industry.
And I would say diesel mechanics as well. Like,
Yeah.
but diesel, there's a huge problem with diesel mechanics. So it's one of the most sought after occupations in Australia, but the process to get assessed and qualified to get your accreditation to actually practice is so expensive that people struggle. Because in South Africa, if you're a diesel mechanic, you aren't earning that sort of level of income to afford such a thing. So we just see there's a huge demand, but not many people can actually afford to go through the assessing process, the
Let,
assessing authority.
let me endorse what you said there. So I drive a bakkie. It's diesel, right? And when I bought it, so I bought a new bakkie 5 or 6 years ago, and then when as soon as it reached like 90,000 kilometers, I decided, well, it's got this balloon payment stuff in the end. I'm going to trade it in, and I'm going to buy something cheaper. But yeah, it's so after 5 years, I own it. Anyway, so this bakkie had loads of kilometers on it. So I drove this bakkie for 4 months, and the engine blew up. Now it's a Ford, but if anyone asks, it's a Toyota. But anyway, so I took it to Ford, and it was there from October last year until March or April before they fixed the turbos that blew. And the reason it took so long is because they had a shortage of diesel mechanics. Then, after getting it back for 4 days, it broke again. And then they were like, no, we're going to give you a brand new engine. So I have to say, I can't complain about service, but yeah,
Well, it's diesel mechanics. It's diesel mechanics in dealerships, and then also like just as high demand, diesel mechanics for your big machinery on mines and
Yeah,
your
you're earth moving.
caterpillars, earth moving stuff. Yeah.
right, right.
So there's
So
two
Perth, Perth,
big time.
Queensland.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got diesel mechanics have its best on both worlds. Where whether you go the East Coast or the West Coast, there's going to be work available. Whether you find yourself in a large city or in a rural town, you'll find work. Um, Again, you've got a growing population. You've got a growing demand for commodities in Australia. What's being produced in the mining sector, a growing demand for people driving vehicles as well. You're going to constantly need people to service those vehicles.
Mhm.
So automotive electricians, diesel motor mechanics, panel beaters.
And probably one of the safest occupations in terms of like what, I mean, you're a developer, you know exactly what's coming with regards to AI and things like that. It's going to be very challenging for all of us.
I have a
We're
clue.
consultants, we're also a bit concerned, but it's fine. We'll make a plan. But like the guys that work with their hands, plumbers, electricians, mechanics, hey, you guys are good for a long time. Oh,
Yeah.
until the robots come.
Until the
But
robots
it's
come.
been still, it's going to be,
Yeah, we struggled with AI in school quite a bit, and then I always told them stop trying to swim upstream and just sort of open up
no
and
worth it.
yeah, it can complement education, and that's
Yes.
pretty much what the Australian government then started doing with Copilot rolling out into schools. I personally use AI for auto completion on scripting and stuff, which is brilliant. Doesn't always get it right, so it's quite annoying, and I need to check it. If I don't check it, it'll make mistakes and leave sensitive data in
Yeah, and that will
public.
continuously happen. You kind of need to fix it from the core.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of ChatGPT per se. I do it writes my email responses, which it's pretty good at. And my social media posts, although it does like emojis.
And my advice when I find my wife, and how to clean my
Yeah, it's like I really need to send this
and how
WhatsApp.
to fix my lawnmower.
One thing I did notice is ChatGPT speaks much better Afrikaans than I do, and it, it's it's
That's
scary.
incredible.
It's scary how good it is because I just had to do a post for Steve Hofmeyer's coming here on Friday. Well, he's going to Brisbane to perform, and SA Events asked me to do just some marketing posts. 'Cause if I'm hopefully I'm speaking to him tomorrow night. I did interview him last year though, so I don't know how open he will be for another chat. But I was hoping to coerce him into politics because apparently Steve loves to talk politics. Last
Yeah,
last year,
yeah.
last
No,
year
sure.
yeah, last year they told me whatever you do, do not talk politics, and I did well to to avoid the topic.
I,
Avoid that one.
I was scrolling through my YouTube shorts, like,
Yeah,
no, and he just came at me, like, I was like, yo, Steve, like,
I thought maybe this time around, you know what? They didn't give me any rules this time. I'm gonna do it, but I haven't heard
He
anything.
was talking about like he needs a refund or something from the government. So,
Yeah,
like, yeah, he
yeah,
wants a
yeah,
refund for everything.
yeah.
Oh, the funniest one I've heard is when they cancelled him on Mnet or something, and the joke was around saying that he's going to start his own network, TV network, and they call it DSTV, which I thought,
DSTV.
yeah, which I thought was really funny. But it's an old joke. Sorry. Now, as an exit question, any advice you want to give to South Africans back home, and even slightly more so, South Africans that's here. They've made the journey. They went through all the hard yards of recruitment, everything, and they now sort of they either have lost their jobs or they don't like what they do and they want to make a shift. Are you guys available for after market advice or after service advice or anything like that?
That's an interesting point. I've got two teachers actually that reached out to me today. One in northern New South Wales that wants to actually find work in more the southern point, and then another teacher in Western Australia, and she's looking to make the move across. Now she's a South African based in Australia. I'm in Cape Town, and she's seen vacancies that we've posted. They've applied. So yes, we are helping foreigners that have or expats that have moved to Australia, and we're here still helping. But I think the best advice for South African family immigrating is that you need to try and be as open-minded as possible when looking to immigrate. People watch videos on Sydney Opera House, or they'll watch videos on the Great Barrier Reef, and that's kind of where they want to go. But Australia, as you know, is a massive country. That area might not be the best place for you to go to based on work opportunities. So be open-minded as possible. The last thing that I'd also like to chat about is sponsorships. A common misconception a South African has about sponsorship is that it doesn't mean that a business is going to pay for you to get to Australia. The immigration process is called sponsorship. It doesn't mean that the business is now going to fork out 20 or $30,000 to sponsor you to get there. It's just the immigration process. It's up to the business whether or not they're going to actually fully come to the table financially and help you to get there. So just be
Yeah,
open-minded.
So
be careful.
that's a relocation. I think that's probably something that's slightly different, and that's where people sometimes get it wrong. Sponsorship,
Yeah.
yes, in the terms of holding your hand as you do the visa process, but also
Yes.
nominating you for PR. Say, for instance, they can't bring you over on a PR, and it needs to be a 482 or whatever else is available to nominate you after you've arrived. You've done your first year of labor and working in the industry to nominate you, saying that they want to nominate you for permanent residence. I know
Mm.
this out of our experience working here, and I know that even people that came over with the same firm as we came over from the UK really struggled to get them to endorse them for PR, even after they were here like 4 years. So
Mm.
yeah, it was quite sad. But eventually, after loads of emails and phone calls, they got through, and today they're not just permanent residents; they're homeowners. And I mean, how incredible is that? Now, so
Absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome.
Also, and just one last bit of advice. Just realize if you're thinking about moving to Australia that you can always come home. You can always come back to South Africa if things don't work out. So, but the pain of not going through the experience and at least trying to see what it's like on the other side will be far greater
Yeah.
than you tripping up in Australia, not knowing what could have been. And I guarantee you, you're going to absolutely love Australia because it's exactly like South Africa,
Mm.
but no problems.
I want to say something about that. So we lived in the UK for 3 years, and I honestly loved the British people. I really enjoyed them because they were kind. We made some really good friends over there, and then we came. But I mean, the cliche of it all is the weather sucks. I mean, it's summer, and you know that you're going to spend the whole weekend indoors because it's raining, it's wet, it's cold. So
Mm.
when we came to Australia, this was absolutely incredible for us. And my son, he was 5 years old, and my daughter was one, and we could do stuff outside. We could walk on the beach. We could go. We can go to the park. And in a matter of 5 years, we've explored the whole of Victoria and even areas into South Australia and New South Wales. And we drove there. We didn't fly there. Australia's big. It's extremely big. And just the fact that we could do this safely. Never have I worried for our safety or any. I had absolutely no concern of that. My car was even stolen last year from my driveway. Found the same day, but what happened was I left my door open and my spare key was in my wife's car, whose door was also open. Because that's how we roll. We leave the doors open because we're so we're
You
complacent.
guys are so generous. You just leave your cars for
Yeah.
people to take.
We're complacent, but let me explain you the caliber of criminal that took my car. It's a bunch of kids, they assume about four, because we saw that with the cup tray they got from the McDonald's drive-through, which they did. So, so they took my car for a spin down the highway, got drive-through, and parked it neatly next to someone's house somewhere
Respectfully.
30 minutes from here. That is the sort of criminal. It had all its wheels, it had its engine, well, I think the same engine that they drove off with. So even when something goes wrong, it's not like it was in South Africa where I got stabbed. I was on my way to work one morning riding my bicycle. I was held at gunpoint and they took everything from me.
Yeah, so I've also had that happen.
Yeah, no, and
But
it's
you see, now like the entrepreneur in me is just like thinking now, like this is like all I'm thinking about is like this is a business opportunity. We should start a criminal academy in Australia to teach them how to be proper criminals.
Especially in South Africa. We can go level expert here.
Get your BA in criminality. You can get your master's, PhD.
you've seen me in action. I can have the website ready by Friday. Just let me know. I'll have it all up and running. Yeah. Just imagine. Well, we'll probably have a couple of sign-ups as well. But
Yeah, exactly.
just to end it off, how wonderful this place is that after 7 years of working for the school, I've got a very good offer in Perth. And even with the fact that I'm already here, they still offered me relocation. And we decided to take the money for the relocation, and we booked a truck to ship well, stuff like clothing and kitchenware and those things. We're selling the furniture. We're shipping my wife's car on a train. It goes through because it's 3,400 kilometers in a straight line if you go down the highway. But we decided then. Oh yes, and they're flying our cats, our two cats. They're flying out there. All expenses paid. They're flying them to Perth. We are going to drive it. We're going to do the scenic route. So the Bucky, the Ford, he's
That's different, sir.
yeah.
That's
So
different.
I've kitted it with
How
a
many kilometers is that? Like 40,000 kilometers.
no. We worked it out for 5,400, just over half the
5,000.
length of Africa. Yeah. So we kitted out the ute. See, I'm calling it a ute. It's a Bucky. It's a Bucky. It's a Bucky. With a rooftop bed, an awning, side walls, kitchen in the back, everything. I went totally Aussie on that car because they always like bolt stuff on the sides and change the back.
Yeah.
So we're going to drive it, and yeah, if you're in any sense a religious person, you pray that car makes it all the way across the desert. But yeah,
It's going to be worth a lot less when it gets to the other side.
but I'm going to document as much. Yeah, it's going to be.
Yes, please.
I
I'm
was
going
just
to
about to ask you, please do. That'd be
Vlog,
incredible.
daily vlog, please. Daily vlog.
Oh, well, daily. I think I'll try and post something every 3 days. We're going to try and make it a 10-day journey, between 9 and 10 days. So three nice long
That's
videos.
no, we just want to make sure that you're still alive, Stephen. That's
So I bought a Starlink Mini. Like if we want to talk about Elon a bit, it's a tiny little Starlink. It cost me $600, and I've put a little mount for it on the roof of my car. So I'm gonna have internet all the way because
nice. That's amazing. There we
even
go.
even in Australia there are places that's got absolutely no reception. But I think we went totally off topic. We've almost talked for an hour. I had lots of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed.
No, we did. Stephen, thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Certainly look forward to seeing what your platform does in the next couple of months. I know it will do very well. And look forward to working with you and your team.